Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And we got one type of show for you guys here today. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, this is a little bit out of our range. We usually don't talk about the NFL, but we do talk about larger, not the NFL football, but we do talk about larger sports issues that are taking place out there. Now, as you guys know, Deion Sanders is a very, very outspoken former NFL Hall of Famer, arguably the greatest player in NFL history and one of the greatest athletes to ever play in the NFL. I've seen a lot of Deion Sanders highlights. It's actually something unbelievable. And the way that he played, he made the entire game look easy. So Deion Sanders, primetime, is revered in his sport. And there's some people that will say, he's probably the best player to ever play in the NFL. Obviously, some people say Tom Brady, Montana, whoever. But ever since he's retired from the NFL, he decided to start coaching collegiately. Now, there was some drama surrounding Deion Sanders, and this happened a number of months ago. It had to do with his decision to leave an HBCU, and the big conversation was, should he have stayed at a HBCU because he was there building a program, and at the time, because he decided to go to Colorado, and at the time, the issue was that, Deion Sanders, he came to the program, he used the program. Just when they generated a buzz, he now took an offer from a bigger school, that offered him, if I'm not mistaken, a $29 million contract or something in that ballpark to go coach their organization. And a lot of people were upset with him, right? Like, how could you leave an HBCU, blah, 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 blah. And it was a huge conversation in the media. We didn't really talk about it much, although some people from our channel wanted us to discuss it, but I wasn't following it too closely. So what happened? Recently, the football team that he coaches, Colorado, recently had an upset win over TCU. Was a very, very improbable victory that they had, right? And a lot of people, to be frank with you, were picking against Deion Sanders' team to win that game. And as a matter of fact, his son is the quarterback of that team. So what happened? We all know who Primetime is. He's a outspoken, energetic person in your face. I personally love it. There's a video. What is it? It's the video when he's in a locker room with his players. This is as a head coach, and is with YG, the song from YG, and the song came on, and Deion Sanders hit this bop, and I was like, even the entire locker room was like, hey, so it was pretty cool. So Deion Sanders has that energy. So what happened? After they won the game, he stepped to the lectern, and apparently what had been happening was there were various reporters and writers and journalists saying negative things about him and talking about his team, talking about how they didn't believe he was going to be able to pull it off. And it was just one big pony show. He's generating a lot of interest, but they didn't really think the team was going to be able to make it. So they go out there and get this win, this upset victory. And basically, he started basically calling people out in the Deion Sanders way that he normally does. And he was like, yo, I saw what you said. I heard what you said. I heard what you said. How does it feel? Like, he was basically calling people out. And it's something that I've seen other athletes do, to be quite honest with you. There was the famous one that I saw. I think it was in the World Championships in 2015, the Sprinting World Championships, when Usain Bolt, I think he won the semifinals, but he slipped or something like that. And something like he made a mistake. And then he came back and won the championship. And the reporter, they said Usain Bolt made a mistake or something like that. As the guy was talking, he's like, hold on. Weren't you the one talking about mistake? Which was hilarious, right? He remembered what the guy said. And he called him. It was just pretty funny the way he did it. So he called him out on it, right? So that's what happened. Then what happens after that? Jason Whitlock, who is a Fox News contributor from time to time. I've seen him on there. He used to work at ESPN. He used to work at FS1 on the show which featured himself, Colin Cowherd at one point. But then ultimately he went on to do his own thing with The Blaze, where he currently has his own show. And if you know anything about Jason Whitlock, he's very, very outspoken. Very, very, very outspoken. And he goes at people. But it seems like in this particular instant, he may have gone too far by taking aim at Deion Sanders. And we want to play some of the comments that he had to make about Deion Sanders, which was very, very surprising, to be quite honest with you, because they were quite harsh. And I got a lot of things that I want to say about it. So what we want to do is we want to play what Jason Whitlock had to say here about Deion Sanders, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to that there.
Does Deion Sanders believe in Deion Sanders? He's certainly not acting like a believer in himself, the Colorado Buffaloes, or the God he proclaims when he occasionally takes a break from self-promotion. Following Colorado's upset of 17th-ranked Texas Christian, Primetime behaved like an insecure 29-year-old woman trying to convince herself that streaming reality TV shows, cooking shashuka, and getting drunk at a Beyonce concert beats marriage and kids. Yeah, I went there. Remember the woman? Let's play the clip.
It's 10:45 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm 29 and single, and I don't have kids yet. Here's what your Saturday morning looks like when you're single at 29 and you don't have a kid running around the house. I didn't rise from my bed until 10:15. Every time I thought, I should probably get up and do something. I thought, why? Nobody's making me. I'm not missing out on anything. I went to Beyonce last night, and I didn't get home until 1 a.m. And I danced and drank my little heart out, and I didn't pay a babysitter to watch my kids as I did that. And I woke up a tad hungover this morning, which is probably why I was in bed for so long. And I was just scrolling on my phone and I saw a picture of shakshuka and I thought, you know what sounds really good? Maybe I'm gonna learn how to make shakshuka today. Because I have no plans and I don't have kids and I don't have a husband and I don't have errands to run. I know that you can do all these things when you have kids and you're married, and I understand, but the effortlessness and ease of my life, just kind of focusing on myself and the shakshuka I wanna make or the Beyonce concert I wanna go to really pays off when I'm hard on myself for not being where society tells me I should be in life.
Yeah, Deion, that's who you sounded like. The woman that's been beefing with Matt Walsh all weekend, that TikToker lying to herself, that's how Deion sounded. On the heels of his 45-42 victory, Primetime walked into his press conference crowing about the receipts he kept on his critics and immediately transitioned into bragging about his son, Shedeur, Colorado's starting quarterback. The self-idolatry, hubris, and LeVar Ball impersonation were just the warm-up. It didn't take long for the first-year Colorado head coach to channel his inner Al Sharpton. Take a listen.
We're gonna continuously be questioned because we do things that have never been done. That's the way our life has presented themselves. We do things that have never been done, and that makes people uncomfortable. When you see a confident black man sitting up here talking his talk, walking his walk, coaching 75% African Americans in the locker room, that's kind of threatening. Oh, they don't like that. But guess what? We're going to consistently do what we do because I'm here and ain't going nowhere. And I'm about to get comfortable in a minute.
Deion Sanders is actually insanely insecure. He camouflages his self-doubt with gold chains, bluster, and bullying. He's 56 and insists that people refer to him as Prime, a secular materialistic character he created as a child at Florida State. The lack of evolution and maturity are stunning. What's equally shocking is how many people play along with his cosplay. Most of the media celebrated Sanders' post-game antics. White reporters fear being labeled racist. Black reporters fear being labeled sellouts. The ex-jocks with a platform all want to be Deion and fear jeopardizing their invitation to speak to the Colorado football team. Deion ruined a fun, feel-good sports story. He needlessly racialized a game and demonized individuals who meant him no harm. I've tried my best to support Deion Sanders. I can't do it anymore. I spent the last 6 or 7 years hoping Deion's proclaimed Christian faith would begin manifesting itself in his public behavior. I'm the same age as Deion. I've been every bit as worldly, insecure, and foolish as Sanders. But you live long enough and you begin to figure out that God's ways are superior to man's. Deion hasn't surrendered to that fact yet. It's disappointing. But he's rarely confronted with any hard truth. He loves the lies and dopamine of social media. It's where he hunts for recruits and develops his worldview. Twitter has convinced Sanders that white football fans and coaches feel threatened by his skin color and ascension to head coach at a Power 5 school. It's as if he's unaware that he replaced a black head coach at Colorado and that black players dominate most locker rooms.
So you heard what Jason Whitlock had to say. Now, before I even get to his comments, I want to quickly read from a Yahoo Sports article, an article that's kind of related to his comments. And the article starts off with the headline, Colorado's upset win over TCU in Deion Sanders' first game with the Buffs draws over 7 million viewers. The Buffalo's 45-42 upset in Deion Sanders' first game as Colorado's coach scored over 2.5 million more viewers than any other Saturday game, according to Sports Media Watch. An average of 7.26 million people tuned in to Fox to see the Buffaloes beat last season's runner-up. Colorado entered the game as a 3-touchdown underdog, but its win was no fluke. QB Shurder Sanders, the son of head coach, set a Colorado record with 510 yards passing, and 4 different players had over 100 yards receiving. Fox is banking on Sanders and Colorado's drawing another big audience in week 2. The Buffaloes play again on the network at noon Eastern, 10 a.m. local, and home against Nebraska in week 2. The second most watched game on that day came in the afternoon as 4.65 million also watched Ohio State's methodical 23-3 win over Indiana. So that's what that article had to say there. And of course, as I mentioned before, Deion Sanders has a 5-year contract paying him $29.5 million with Colorado, according to MSN. Why am I bringing this up? The reason I'm bringing this up is because I think all of this is playing into the criticism that he received. Let me get to what Jason Whitlock had to say there. This is the first show I believe we're ever producing centered on anything that Jason Whitlock has ever said. Here are my initial thoughts. As I was listening to him talk about Deion Sanders, I was saying to myself, why are you going this far? Why are you going this far? Why are you saying these things? Why are you comparing him to that lady on TikTok? Why are you talking about his behavior that is not religious enough, calling the guy basically feminine for the way he brags and all of that stuff? Was all of that really, really necessary? A lot of that was a little bit too much. I think the line was crossed and he basically ran through the tape. And I couldn't understand why his comments were so vicious. It was like so vicious. The fact of the matter is this. We really wouldn't be talking about Deion Sanders if, number one, it wasn't him, and number two, he wasn't experiencing success. Let's just be real. Had they got blown out, yeah, we'll talk about them. What about a failure and all of that stuff? But really, the real conversation is around the fact that he won. And I know that Deion Sanders seems to be turning off a lot of people out there. And to me, I don't know why. Because sports is a place where people talk SHI, you know what. Where people flex, where people talk their talk. Deion Sanders isn't the first person that's done that. And number two, I don't think that he's doing something that is outside his character from when he was a former NFL player. I don't think he just turned into this other person. I don't think he's doing it for clicks and views. I think he's doing it because that's who he really is. He is an outspoken person. This talking is talk. And the issue is, or the question is rather, what is the issue that Jason Whitlock is having with him? That's number one. Number two, the religious thing. We're getting into some very murky grounds here. We're getting into some very, very, very murky grounds. No one likes a self-righteous person, especially knowing that let he without sin cast the first stone. If we're all sinners in one way or the other, how can you be reprimanding this guy because he's not acting as a quote unquote Christian in the way that the Bible said, when you yourself have said that you're not infallible? Number one. Number two, who are you to be bringing up this guy's behavior in terms of how he behaves as a Christian? You're not his judge, nor is anybody else. What's going on here? No one, Deion Sanders doesn't need to seek guidance or acceptance from any of these people because they themselves are going to need guidance and acceptance from God. So why the hell would he need to get it from you? I just don't understand that part. Another thing I want to say, and it's something that I've noticed. I don't have any particular political affiliation. I wouldn't describe myself as a Republican. I wouldn't describe myself as a Democrat. I think there are things that both parties do that make sense, and I think there are things that both parties do that make no sense. There's certain things that they do that I agree with, and there's certain things they do that I disagree with. There's certain things that various politicians from either party say that I like, and there are various things that various politicians from both parties say that I dislike. So I wouldn't consider myself this or that. I'm a person evaluating the information, making decisions based off of things and how they make sense to me. Now, I'm not saying this to say if you're a Democrat, you're a bad person or you're a good person. If you're a Republican, you're a bad or good person. That's not my job. I'm not here to judge you. It's not my job. It's not my job to judge people. There are people that do that. That's not my job. All I'm saying is this. I have noticed that the people that bemoan the fact that politics is always being brought into sports are the very same ones constantly bringing politics into sport, looking at things from a political angle. Now, I think people would respect you more if you say, listen, I cover sports with this political lens, so therefore we know what to expect. I think where you lose people is where you say, no. I'm not really talking politics here. I'm just telling you the truth when clearly you have a bias in whichever direction. Jason Whitlock is clearly leaning towards the right. So to say anything otherwise is laughable. But beyond that, a lot of the things that he said about Deion Sanders, I believe, were inappropriate because you're talking like as if you're his judge. You're not the man's judge. He's an adult just like you. He doesn't need to act the way you want him to act because he doesn't work for you. He doesn't need to behave as a Christian the way you believe he needs to behave. Whatever relationship he has with God, that's his relationship. It's not for you to criticize because when he's looking for redemption, he's not coming to you. So why are you commenting on it? As a Christian, I get sick of Christians that do this, going around persecuting people. Worry about your own business. Don't go run around persecuting people as if like you're the one sending them to hell or sending them to salvation. You're not. And ultimately, when God is making his decision, he's going to judge the heart. He's not judging them based off of what you think. I thought that was wrong to be calling a guy talking about he's a feminist. Come on, stop. That's too much. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think. As a matter of fact, do you think, what I want to know is, do you think Jason Whitlock crossed the line and he deserves the criticism that he got? Or do you think that no, Deion Sanders' behavior is the one that's attracting all this criticism towards him and he deserves everything that he gets based on the way he's been behaving himself or comporting himself or conducting himself in the public? Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comment section and we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.